Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We have got a few things to talk about today, and just ignore the huge smile on my face. It's got nothing to do with some results in the past 24 hours. I'm just happy. Just a happy Celtic fan. That's all. Anyway, Rangers are out the Champions League and Celtic are still in it, so we've got to talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we try and get towards 50,000 subscribers this year. We're almost at 46k, so please, if you haven't, drop down below, hit those buttons. It's absolutely free. We've also got some Celtic transfer news to go over today, a big story that came out this morning, so stick around for the whole video. Couple of big stories, starting with the Champions League. So last night, Rangers fell victim to Dynamo Kiev at Hampden, which means they are out of the Champions League. That glorious Champions League money will not be heading to the Rangers bank account this year, and Celtic once again pull away financially when it comes to the competition here in Scotland. It's fantastic news. I mean, we were already far ahead, but now we're even further ahead, which is just... it's just great, to be honest. Rangers' misfortune actually presents some big news to Celtic. It's not all just fun and games and pointing and laughing at Rangers. No, their result last night actually has ramifications on Celtic's quest for European glory this year. And despite Celtic not usually doing too well in Europe, it's some good news and we should go over that. So as it stands, this is the European coefficient table heading into the 2024-25 Champions League campaign. And thanks to Rangers leaving the competition prematurely, as you can see, Celtic as it stands have been knocked into pot 3 for the Champions League group stage draw. We were meant to be a pot 4 club, but because of the way qualifiers have went, including Rangers' departure from the competition, we are into pot 3 with our 32 coefficient points as it currently stands, which is fantastic news. Now listen, every team in the Champions League is a good team. I don't think there's such a thing as an easy draw. I just think this is overall some really good news for the club. At the end of the day, you were always going to be handed tough games, but there is a chance that this just makes it slightly more favourable for Celtic. So yeah, we need to talk about that. In case you're unfamiliar with how the draw will work for the Champions League next year and what this all means, what's going to happen, it's as simple as this. There is now 8 games rather than 6 games. We don't play the same teams twice. You play 8 different games, 4 at home, 4 away from home, and it will be drawn randomly through a computer. The opponents are going to be drawn on the spot. We'll talk about that in a moment. But essentially moving up to pot 3 could just make the game slightly better for Celtic. It's not a great deal of difference it's going to make, but, you know, the higher up you are, the better. So the draw will happen at the end of the month, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Celtic can do. I'll throw it back up on screen. I mean, you look at the teams that are currently there in the competition. There are some teams that obviously you want to avoid. Some teams you would fancy your chances against. Of course, home and away plays a big factor as well. But Celtic sitting there at the bottom of pot 3 as it currently stands. Thank you, Rangers. Enjoy the Thursday night football. It might treat you a little bit better. The new draw will work differently to how it's worked in previous years. It's no longer a case of drawing teams out of these pots and trying to put them together with other ones. It's as simple as Celtic gets drawn, computer generates their 8 games. That's how it works. There's 36 teams now in the competition as well. It works in one big league format. The draw will take place on the 29th of August. Keep that in mind. However, everything will be finalised on the 31st of August, including match dates and kick-off times. So, you know, we might hear who we're playing on the 29th, but they won't have the official dates published until the 31st. So don't go booking your flights on the 29th. Don't start getting too carried away. There still will have to be work done to make sure there's no scheduling conflicts, stuff like that. You know, the scenarios that can crop up every year when it comes to European football. But Celtic are in pot 3. Champions League should be interesting this year with the new format. I'm looking forward to it. Philip, come on. Thank you. You're the gift that keeps on giving. And yeah, as I said, Best of luck in the Thursday League. Right, let's go swiftly over to Celtic transfer talk then, because a big and exciting story emerged this morning online that Celtic are potentially looking at a midfielder who could be the Matt O'Reilly replacement. I really want to talk about this one because it's one that has really perked me up and one that's got me standing on attention. So let's have a look at that. It came via Football Transfers, transfers.com this morning. So this was the exclusive headline via Ronan Murphy this morning, that Celtic have made Bundesliga Wunderkid, there we go, I've got the German going already. Celtic have made Bundesliga Wunderkid Arne Engels their top priority. The article goes on to say that Celtic have made Augsburg Wunderkid Arne Engels one of their top targets this summer. Football Transfers understands. The Scottish Premiership champions have been busy in the transfer market this summer, bringing in goalkeepers Viljami Salo and Kasper Schmeichel, with Paulo Bernardo coming in from Benfica and a move for Adam Ida almost complete. However, we have been told that the Celtic boss Brendan Rodgers is keen to add further strength to the midfield and has targeted dynamic Augsburg midfielder Engels as a key addition to the team. This is one that really has come from nowhere this morning, but as I said, one that has really caught my eye. And as obviously a big Bundesliga and German football fan, one that I would be very interested to see Celtic go in for. I'm hoping this is one that we can read into and one that provides a little bit of insider information to who the Matt O'Reilly replacement might be. But it's one that has so much ambition behind it, one that is a really exciting player for Celtic to target, that makes me think there's just no way Celtic will do it. So I guess that's the main question to answer straight away. There's no point beating around the bush here. We'll examine the player in a moment. Is there a chance of this happening? I've already been messaged a number of times on Twitter and tagged in numerous tweets asking my opinion if it could happen. Simply, I mean, only if Matt O'Reilly leaves the club. This is clearly one of the options for a Matt O'Reilly replacement should he complete his move to Atalanta or Brighton in this transfer window. But alongside that, I do have my doubts. Why? Because it's a high value player. It's a very ambitious move. It's one that I think Celtic could and should complete if given the opportunity. But it's one that I feel with the way that our board handles transfer business, they won't want to go in on. Now, I suppose you could say at the same time, listen, Celtic have just went out and apparently bidded £8.5 million for Adam Ida. That shows ambition. That shows they're willing to spend money. But are they going to do it on two players in the one transfer window? It's a big difference. They should be doing it. If we bank £25 million for Matt O'Reilly, there's no denying we should be doing it. But who can blame a man for having their reservations when it comes to the Celtic board and paying big fees for a player? Arne Engels is playing for Augsburg in the German Bundesliga. Only 20 years of age. He is exactly what we called him a few moments ago, a Wunderkid. You know, he is playing at a higher level and playing very well at that level as well. I watched him a couple of times in Bundesliga games last year, and he wasn't someone who necessarily I thought, you know, I'd love to see him play at Celtic. I think he'd be a cracking player or whatnot, but he was definitely good on the eye and somebody who will hit, you know, a decent level in football. He's got a very high ceiling. Belgian player as well, of course. He played last season 32 times for Augsburg in the Bundesliga, scoring 3 and assisting 5. He's quite a versatile player. He can play anywhere in the midfield, really. He's played a number of times on the right-hand side of the midfield, at centre midfield, attacking midfield, but predominantly in the same sort of position as Matt O'Reilly. I think this could be a very good replacement for Matt. He's a very creative player, somebody who likes to play a key pass and somebody who's good at reading the lines in the game. It would be a fantastic replacement. It would be a big money replacement because he's valued currently at €9 million, and I'm assuming that Augsburg would probably want around €10 million for the player. But when you think of it as, you know, £8, maybe £9 million, that's less than half the money that we'd be making for Matt O'Reilly. It's definitely a move that Celtic should consider, especially if reports are paid to believe that Brendan Rodgers is a big fan. Interestingly, Ronan Murphy, who reported the story, he said in his article that the Bavarian club will definitely look to cash in on one of their prized assets, especially with his impressive rise in expected transfer value, which puts his range between €7.1 million and €11.9 million. So there is definitely a big range there that we could be talking about for the player. It could be as cheap as 7 million to as dear as 12 million euros. And they finished mid-table last season, Augsburg, in a pretty decent season for a club of their standard and their size. And he was one of their top players, as we just said. So, you know, if you're one of the top players at a mid-table Bundesliga team, that's when you start to attract the attention of bigger clubs. And being only 20 years of age, this is a guy who's only maybe a year or two away from attracting a much bigger move. And Celtic could get in ahead of that if they were really serious here. So I like the look of it. It's one to definitely keep an eye on through this window. So hopefully Celtic are ambitious in getting their Matt O'Reilly replacement. And I would put Arne Engels right at the top of one of those ambitious lists. Got to make that point crystal clear before we finish up. This is only if Matt O'Reilly leaves the club. Otherwise, forget the name Arne Engels. It's not as if Celtic are going to go and sign him while Matt O'Reilly is still here and we've not cashed in on that. But I think it's getting increasingly likely that Matt O'Reilly will leave the club in the next 2 weeks. Celtic should probably be prepared for that. And there's no point in waiting till O'Reilly leaves to then inquire about things. Get in and ahead of the curve. Don't do what we've done with Adam Ida and put your eggs in one basket and let things get too difficult as the weeks go on. Augsburg are by no means a financial superpower. We really should be able to control a negotiation like this. So ask the question, inquire ahead of time, and don't leave it to the last minute when it's too dear. We pull the plug and we end up with Yusuf Malumbu back at centre mid. Thanks very much. So that was the big story for today. It is an exciting one. Keep an eye on it. We'll talk about it more on the channel if anything comes from it. The only other story to talk about today is Kwon, who has officially left Celtic on loan. He's joined up with Hibs for the season. This came out of nowhere yesterday. I wasn't expecting it anyway. I wasn't on social media a lot yesterday, so I never seen any chatter about it. But good luck to him on his loan move. It's a decent one for him. Probably a step down from St Mirren, to be quite honest. But nonetheless, a move that will hopefully get him playing some football, and we'll watch how he gets on there. But Kwon is away. Aside from that, nothing else really to talk about as it stands. 3:10 this afternoon as I finish up this video. But if anything happens, you know I'll be there to report on it. Arne Engels, go for it. I like it. I like it a lot. Like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.